The dining room was loud, forks clinking against plates, glasses refilled, bursts of laughter echoing off the walls. Chris sat at the head of the table, his family hanging on every word as he spun another charming story. He looked polished, perfect, like the man they'd always believed he was. I sat 3 seats down, watching him smile. My hands were clenched under the table, nails biting into my palms. Because while they saw the golden son, the responsible boyfriend, the man who could do no wrong, I knew the truth. And the truth was about to shatter everything. But let me back up. My name is Lena. I'd been with Chris for almost 3 years. He was the kind of man people envied. Steady job, easy laugh, the kind who remembered anniversaries and bought flowers without needing a reminder. His family adored him. His mother once told me, "You're lucky to have him." And I believed her. We lived together in a small apartment downtown. My roommate Tessa was practically family. She'd been there for me long before Chris. Together, they made up the 2 pillars of my life, the man I thought was my future and the friend I thought was my foundation. For a while, everything looked picture perfect. But appearances are fragile things, and behind Chris's charming smile were cracks no one else seemed to notice. Lies whispered late at night, secrets buried under excuses, a mask he wore so well I almost believed it myself. Almost. And now, sitting in that crowded dining room, I could feel the weight of what I carried. Because Chris's lies weren't just mine to bear anymore. His family deserved to know who he really was. He built his image in front of them. And I was about to burn it down. The cracks didn't start with some explosive discovery. They slipped in quietly, like water seeping under a door. At first it was the late nights. Chris would text, "Working late? Don't wait up." I believed him. Why wouldn't I? He was ambitious, proud of his job. But then I noticed the times didn't add up. He'd say he was still in the office, yet a friend swore they saw him across town. When I asked, he chuckled, kissed my forehead, and said, "Babe, you're mixing things up. Don't stress." Then there were the phone calls. I'd walk into the room and he'd lower his voice, end the conversation quickly. "Just work stuff," he'd shrug, sliding the phone face down on the table. And Tessa, my best friend, my safe place, she started changing too. She'd retreat to her room more, laughing at something on her phone and shutting it off the second I walked in. When I asked if everything was okay, she said she was just tired. I wanted to believe them. God, I wanted to so badly. But the little things piled up. 2 glasses in the sink when I knew I hadn't had company. A restaurant receipt in Chris's jacket pocket for a dinner I hadn't been at. When I confronted him, his expression didn't crack. He was smooth, practiced. "Lena, you're paranoid. You've been stressed from work. You're imagining things. The worst part?" Tessa echoed him. "You're reading too much into it," she said, patting my arm like I was a child. Chris would never do that. And for a while, I believed them. Or at least, I forced myself to. Because if both the people I trusted most were telling me I was overreacting, maybe I really was. But late at night, lying awake, my gut screamed otherwise. Something was wrong. And if I wanted to know the truth, I couldn't just rely on instincts. I'd need proof. The proof came on a night I wasn't supposed to be home. Chris had told me he was working late again, and I'd planned to grab dinner with coworkers. But plans changed, and I ended up back at the apartment earlier than expected. The lights were low, music hummed softly, and for a second I thought Tessa had friends over. But then I saw it. Chris's jacket draped over the back of the couch, his shoes by the door. My chest tightened. I crept down the hallway, my pulse hammering. And there it was. Our bedroom door cracked just enough to see shadows moving inside. A laugh, a whisper, a woman's voice that wasn't mine. I pushed the door open, and my world collapsed. Chris was there, tangled up with someone I didn't recognize. Not Tessa, not yet. That betrayal was still waiting for me down the line. This was someone else. He froze, eyes wide, scrambling for words. The woman grabbed her clothes and bolted past me, her face hidden, perfume trailing in her wake. I stood there shaking, unable to breathe, unable to scream. "Lena." "Wait," Chris said, pulling on his jeans, his face shifting from guilt to irritation. "It's not what it looks like." I laughed, an ugly, broken sound. "Not what it looks like? I just saw you with her in our bed." He sighed, running a hand through his hair. Okay, yes, I messed up. But you have to understand. I've been lonely. You've been distant, distracted, always wrapped up in your own world. I didn't mean for it to happen, but you pushed me there. His words hit harder than the sight itself. Somehow, even now, he was turning it back on me. I wanted to scream, to hit him, to make him feel even a fraction of what I felt. Instead, I crumpled onto the floor, tears spilling down my face. Chris crouched in front of me, voice soft, almost rehearsed. If you tell anyone, my family, your friends, they won't believe you. They see me for who I am. You'll look crazy. Do you really want to ruin everything over one mistake? That was his weapon. Not just betrayal, but control. He wasn't asking me to forgive him. He was warning me into silence. And for a while, I carried that silence like a chain. But chains can break. And his mistake was only the beginning. After that night, I couldn't look at Chris the same way. Every time he touched me, every time he smiled, I felt sick. But his words echoed in my head. If you tell anyone, they won't believe you. And maybe he was right. His family worshipped him. To them, he was the dependable son, the success story. To my friends, he was charming, attentive, the man everyone thought I was lucky to have. I was the one who would sound paranoid, unstable, bitter. So I stayed quiet, but I started watching. That's when I saw the patterns. Credit card statements tucked into drawers, bills with charges that didn't make sense, hundreds at restaurants I'd never been to, jewelry I never received. When I asked, he always had a smooth explanation. Work dinners? Client gifts. But the lies grew heavier the closer I looked. One afternoon while Chris was showering, his phone lit up on the counter. A message preview flashed before it disappeared. I told your mom the money cleared. Don't forget to cover me this time. My stomach dropped. Money? Cover what? I dug deeper. Receipts hidden in his desk, loan notices addressed to him but sent to our apartment. He wasn't just cheating. He was drowning in debt, borrowing from friends, from coworkers, even from his own family. And the mask he wore so well, the golden sun, the perfect boyfriend, wasn't just about covering affairs. It was about survival. Every lie layered on top of another, holding up a version of Chris that never really existed. I sat in my room clutching the papers, shaking with rage and disbelief. It wasn't just my heart he'd broken. He was betraying everyone who trusted him, everyone who held him up as the man who could do no wrong. That was when the idea took root. If he built his entire life on lies in front of his family, then maybe that was exactly where the truth needed to come out. He wanted me silenced, but I was done keeping his secrets. The dinner was Chris's idea. His parents were celebrating their anniversary, and he insisted I come. It'll be good for us, he said, his hand warm over mine, his eyes calm, practiced, like he hadn't shattered me weeks before. Part of me wanted to refuse, to stay home, to stay silent. But another part, the part still clutching the receipts, the loan notices, the screenshots, knew this was the moment I'd been waiting for. The restaurant was loud and cheerful. His family gathered around a long table, glasses raised in toasts. Chris sat at the head, laughing, glowing, spinning stories about work, about friends, about how lucky he was to have me. His mother dabbed her eyes with a napkin, smiling at him like he was flawless. I sat 3 seats down, my stomach twisting. My hands trembled under the table as I slipped the folder from my bag. Actually, I said, my voice louder than I meant. The table went quiet, eyes turning toward me. There's something you all should see. Chris's smile faltered. Lena. But I was already laying the papers down. Bank statements, receipts, screenshots of messages. One by one, I slid them across the table. Your golden boy has been lying. To me, to all of you, affairs, debts, money you thought he borrowed for work. He was spending it on other women. Gasps rippled down the table. His father leaned forward, face darkening. His sister shook her head, whispering, No, not Chris. Chris tried to laugh, to brush it off. She's twisting things. You know how emotional Lena gets? But then his cousin, eyes wide, spoke up. She's not lying. I caught him borrowing from me too. Said it was for bills. I never saw a penny back. The air shifted. The weight of my words sank in, heavier with the confirmation. Chris's mask cracked, his smile gone. He stammered, "It's not. It's complicated." But the room wasn't buying it anymore. For the first time, I wasn't the one who seemed crazy. Chris's voice cracked as he tried to gather himself. "You don't understand. Things have been tough. I borrowed, sure, but I was going to pay it back. And the stuff with Lena, it was just mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes." He leaned on that word like it was a shield. Mistakes. As if months of lies, nights with other women, money siphoned from his own family could be swept away with a shrug. I stared at him, my pulse steady now. I had one last card to play, and I knew it would end him. "Funny," I said, pulling out my phone, scrolling until the screen glowed with a photo. "Because mistakes don't usually come with engagement rings." Gasps circled the table as I slid the phone toward his mother. A screenshot of a post from another woman. Smiling, hand outstretched, a ring glittering on her finger. Chris's arm draped around her waist. The caption, "Can't wait to spend forever with you?" His mother's hand flew to her mouth. His father's fist slammed the table. His sister whispered, "Oh my God, he's engaged." Chris's face drained of color. He opened his mouth, shut it, opened it again. No excuses left. Tessa, who had been silent until now, muttered, "You told me it was only me?" The room erupted. Shouts, tears, disbelief. Years of trust crumbling in minutes. And for once, I didn't feel small. I didn't feel paranoid or hysterical or erased. I felt the truth land, heavy and undeniable, right where it belonged, at his feet. The golden boy mask was gone, and all that was left was the liar underneath. I didn't stay to watch the whole implosion. Once the shouting started, his father demanding answers, his mother crying into her napkin, Tessa staring at him like she'd never seen him before, I knew I'd done what I came to do. I slipped out quietly, my bag slung over my shoulder, my legs shaking as I stepped into the night air. For the first time in months, I felt light. Not because exposing him fixed everything. It didn't. I'd lost years of my life to him, lost trust in a friend I thought was family, lost pieces of myself to doubt and shame. But because for once, the lies weren't mine to carry anymore. Chris had spent years weaving stories, polishing his mask until even I believed it. He convinced me I was paranoid, insecure, crazy for seeing the cracks. And I let him, because love makes you blind and hope makes you foolish. But the thing about lies is they can't stand up forever. Sooner or later, the weight of the truth breaks them apart. Exposing him wasn't about revenge. It wasn't about humiliating him in front of his family or tearing down the image he'd built. It was about taking my story back, reclaiming the voice he tried to silence with gaslighting and guilt. He tried to make me his secret, his scapegoat, the unstable girlfriend who would take the blame when his mask slipped. But instead, I became the one thing he couldn't control, the crack in his perfect facade. He built his life on lies. All I did was open the window and let the light in. And sometimes, that's all it takes to bring the whole house down.